Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Monika Król. I am Associated Professor at University of Lodz, Faculty of Law Administration from Poland. My paper is about climate change as a challenge to food security. My help would be that presentation that you can see. I would like to tell you a few information about the impact of climate change on biosphere and its components. Food security as a part of environmental security, right to life, right to food, right to water, right to environment, right to land as a category of human rights. Finally, legal basis on the right to food and legal instruments for implementation the right to food, for example, in Polish legislation. Global population is growing. We have some data from United Nations, for instance, from middle of 20th century. And there was, after the Second World War, there was 2.5 billion of people in the world, and then the civilization were growing. In 1987, it was 5 billion. Finally, in 2020, 7.6 billion of people. For today, I have checked, we have 7 billion 81 million of people, and the number is growing, and the forecast says that in the middle of November, exactly, we'll have 8 billion. And forecast for next years is 9 billion 0.7 in 2050. So we have some consequences based on that number, because we have nearby 900 of million people who are starving. They suffer from hunger and or malnutrition. FAO document says that in the middle of 21st century, the need to produce food will grow, and they say from 50–60%. I have seen even forecast that it will be 70%. That situation is even worse if we realize that climate is changing and the temperature, global temperature, is going high. So we have impact on shrinking agriculture land resources, because we have some land grabbing process. We declining water resources because we need lots and lots of water to produce different goods. And we have a problem with drinking water. Air is polluted, and we have lots of industrial emissions, but we have agricultural emissions as well. Finally, we have problem with biodiversity, which is lost. Yesterday was WWF report, and in that we could read that some data that we are losing even 60% of species. Shrinking agricultural land resources every single year. We are losing quality and quantity of soil. For instance, some data for yesterday, land lost to soil erosion problems globally in 2022. It is October, not the end of the year, so you can see hectares lost by soil erosion. Exactly the same data about desertification. Of course, soil and land is allocation for investment purposes. So we have lack of real protection for agricultural land in planning and zoning regulations. Finally, we have a new problem which is called the land grabbing phenomenon, when some lands in South America are lost because they were bought by some investors from China, from Europe. Finally, we have quality problems. So some natural cases like salinization, acidification, desertification, decrease of soil fertility, and carbon content. Water resources, increasing water demand on agriculture because we need to water our crops. In some areas of Europe, we use it in permanent chronicle way. In some parts, it's still rare, like in Poland. Another problem is water quality due to over-fertilization in agriculture, and we have the problem of Baltic Sea as well. Air. Agriculture generates 95% of ammonia emission to air in Europe. In 2015, European greenhouse gases emission from agriculture were 11% of European Union emissions. Carbon sequestration by agriculture and forestry is only 7% of total European Union greenhouse gas emission. Biodiversity lost. We have changed the model of agriculture productivity for big farms in some parts of Europe or in United States, in Canada. So now we have several problems of biodiversity in rural areas. We are losing them, and we can see it if we check the data about FBI index of birds on agricultural land. Declining of pollinators, insects, bees, and other pollinating insects. And finally, because the temperature is growing, some of plants are moving to northern part of Europe, and we have invasion of some species. Food security. We do not have the legal definition. We based on some definitions from FAO and, of course, the doctrine of agricultural, environmental, and administrative law. The first kind of definition was narrow, and oldest, very traditional way to count people who live, the population who live in the area, and count the total amount of food available in the country. If there was enough food, we could say that it's food security system. Now, of course, we are talking about it in a wider shot. It's newer, and the definition is based on FAO documents, FAO Earth Summit from 1996. Access to sustainable supplies of food and health needs, food adequacy, personal, cultural, religious preferences. So we have to account also that preferences. What does it mean in this wider definition? Food security exists when all people have physical or economic access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food to meet their dietary needs and food preferences for active and healthy life. Ensuring food security is not the same as freedom from hunger. It is a much broader concept than freedom from hunger. Needs for food security, quantitative aspects includes food security, qualitative aspects. If we analyze environmental safety concept, is the wider definition, and environmental safety means demographic, health, social, energetic, especially nowadays, and climatic safety, plus food. So food security is part of environmental security. Food security is, of course, in the theoretical economic concept, is not only a freedom from hunger or malnutrition. Food security is a global public goods, so goods from which no one can be excluded. So such asset is also to stable climate. The hallmark of the global public good, understood in this way, is that the beneficiary of this good is humanity as a whole, as a publicum, food as commons. Food security is a state responsibility. So if it's the element of environmental safety, which is, for instance, in Poland, a responsibility of the state. If the food is a part of this environmental security, then food safety is one of the basic tasks, not only of agriculture policy, but also in environmental policy. Reference to the state duty towards the community living in the territory, food security as instrument of social justice, and state obligation to provide natural resources like land, water, biodiversity conservation, pollinator protection, prevention of alien invasion for agriculture. Creating the conditions for social responsibility in agriculture. It was accident, I think, somewhere here. So we have very simple relation. Right to the environment is base of environmental safety. Right to food as a source of the food security. But if we look at human rights, we can realize that, of course, we have first generation, second generation, and third generation of human rights. So the right to food is second generation of human rights. It's a kind of economic, social, cultural rights. And the group of specific rights, including freedom from hunger, need to provide the individual with food that guarantee an adequate standard of living, right to water, right to drinking water, the right to preserve agriculture, farmland. And at the same moment, right to the environment is the third generation of human rights. It's rights to solidarity, awareness of belonging of a human community. And in that group, we have specific environmental rights like right to clean water, right to uncontaminated soil, right to clean air. So the right to food is by sure the category of human rights. And we can say that we have the complex of rights. So it's right to life, right to food, right to water, and finally right to environment. So from second category of human rights to third category of human rights. Of course, it's based on a very well-known Universal Declaration of Human Rights from 1948. Everyone has the right to life, liberty and security of the person, a European Convention of Human Rights, a Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union, Article 2, Section 1, everyone has a right to live. Universal Declaration of Human Rights from 1948. Everyone has the right to stand the standards of living adequate for health and the well-being of himself and his family, included food. And the most important and well-known article is Article 14 of International Covenant of Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. And here we have two aspects. In Section 1, we have right of everyone to adequate standard of living, including food. And in Section 2, we have fundamental right to everyone to freedom from hunger. And to underline, we have some responsibility of the state to improve food production, to improve conservation and distribution methods by making full use of technical and scientific knowledge of nutrition principles, developing the reforming agriculture system, and ensure an equitable distribution of world food resources. If we look at that article, we can say that we have two aspects. First is freedom from hunger, but it's only one element, and the second is right to of everyone to adequate standard of living, including food, and we can see four different responsibilities of the state. So right to food is freedom from hunger, closely linked to the right to life, is considered an absolute standard. Minimum level is regardless of the country's level of development. Of course, different in India, different in Pakistan, in Africa, or different in Europe. The right to adequate food is a much broader concept as it involves the need to create economic, political and social conditions that enable people to achieve food security for themselves. The right to food should have 5 elements: stability, availability, sustainability, adequacy of food. Of course, it's based on United Nations and FAO documents. One of the most important was United Nations World Summit, Agenda 21, strengthening the development of sustainable agriculture. Then 1996 FAO World Summit and that with wider definition of food security. Johannesburg 2002, another World Summit, fighting poverty and hunger. It was the most important concept of all that conference. Desertification of agricultural soil, improving agricultural productivity. Another document was FAO Vision of Food Security World from 2007, and when we stressed that food security still depends more on social economic than on climate condition. I would like to underline that it's most important element of and more important thesis of FAO. It is much more depend of social economic than on climate conditions. Very soft law. Of course, it's not soft law, but convention relating to status as refugees, elimination of all forms of discrimination against women, right of a child, rights of person with disabilities, and a number of regional human rights acts. Convention were signed by 150 parties, but they were not implemented properly in every country. We have also non-binding international instruments. They set out guidelines, principles, recommendations, declarations like Universal Declaration of Fight Against Hunger and Malnutrition, or Rome Declaration on Food Security from 1996. About constitutions, I said that the rule is not implemented, legal rules are not implemented properly to national system, and looking into the constitutions, we can find that only Constitution of the Republic of Nicaragua in Article 63 says Nicaraguans have the right to freedom from hunger. The state shall support programs to ensure adequate availability of food and its equitable distribution. So this is the only constitution when we can say that it is right to food is expressis verbis at the level of constitution. We have, of course, the several constitutions when the right to food is explicitly included as part of the recognition of broader rights like standards of life, which includes food as one of the elements. It's in Belarus and the Republic of Moldavia. Or the right to food is an element of development of a country, but expressis verbis includes access to food. Republic of Malawi. In our constitution, for instance, in several countries of Europe, there is no single word about it. So it's an element, like in Poland, of environmental safety. So, as I told you, in Poland, there is no single article in constitution looking to the legislation, its lack of norms in the constitution. We have only one act, it's ordinary legislation in preamble of that act. It's acts from 2003 on the formation of the agricultural system of the state. It is said in preamble that in order to strengthen the protection and development of family farms, which under the Constitution of the Republic of Poland constitute the basis of agricultural system of Republic of Poland, to ensure proper management of agricultural land in the Republic of Poland, to ensure the food security for citizens and for the promotion of environmentally sustainable agriculture and conducive to rural development. This act is hereby enacted. And this is absolutely the end of food security, because if we look in another articles of that act, there is no single word about food security. This act was created to help Polish farmers keep agricultural land in their hands. So no food security. So implementation of instruments of national level, you can see of this diagram. It is a picture from FAO documents. So we have some guides how to implement instruments at national level. It's quite good work done at international level, but we have to do it by sure, starting from constitutional recognition, like any articles in the Constitution. How does it look? I have just told. So, in conclusion, ensuring food system normative nature of food security as a global public good requires active implementation of the state task. Threats to food security go against the principle of social justice and are the barrier to social cohesion. Viewing food security as a global public good requires the use of a number of legal instruments that secure natural resources for agriculture and prevent environmental degradation by agricultural as well. Ensuring access to natural resources, it should be done by conservation and sustainable use of land, promoting sustainable access to water resources, biodiversity conservation in agriculture, protection of pollinators, protection against invasive species. Social responsibility of agriculture, inter alia protecting against over-chemicalization in agriculture. Quality of food safety and consumer protection. So food safety standards to prevent food contamination and food waste. Finally, at the end, food waste, not just in big supermarkets. In Poland, we have act, but we protect wasting of food, but only in big stores. Thank you very much for attention. Best regards from Poland.